Joe. I really appreciate that introduction. And one of the things that came to my mind very quickly as he was introducing it is I'm about to review the state of the city, and it's really important to me that all of you know that these are not my accomplishments. These are the accomplishments of all of you, but in particular, a lot of our city employees. So I wanted to start real quickly by making sure, maybe I just have them stand. Can I have our city manager and our department heads just stand real quickly? As part of the city, State of the City address, I'm going to go through and kind of highlight their accomplishments. Really, it's theirs and the work that they've done that really made the city great. So thank you very much. Well, first I wanted to say thank you to the Chamber for allowing me to speak. Certainly the Chamber, all of you and the companies that you represent are just a really significant part of the city of Folsom, and the city would not be the same without you. So really do appreciate this opportunity to be able to share some of these insights into the accomplishments and the objectives of the city moving forward. What I'm going to basically do as I go through this slide presentation is I'm going to highlight the accomplishments. I'll actually start with a little overview of our financial condition, and then move quickly into a review of some of the accomplishments of the city, actually going through department by department within the city. So I'll start real quickly by jumping into the financial highlights. The first thing that I'm very happy and pleased to be able to say as a mayor of the city and as a council member is that the city is in solid financial position. This is very significant for government agencies these days, and I'm sure that the state would be quite jealous to be able to say the exact same thing. But the process that we have solid financials within the city is not going to be any surprise to all of you. It takes a little bit of planning, and in fact, we've established a 5-year planning model to where we can actually see challenges before they hit us. Let's say we want to replace a fire truck. These things are over $1 million. And if you can see these things coming a few years in advance, you can start to plan for them and do the things that you do in your businesses in order to be prepared when these financial expenses come up within your businesses. The second thing is really around setting good policies. We've established policies such as requiring ample reserves within the city. So each year, we set aside money just in the event that something happens where we're going to need to dip into those reserves and we're not caught without the cash required to keep the city operating as it should. The next point here is really about the willingness to address tough issues. And this issue that I'm referring to here and use as an example is governments, and I think there's certainly a lot of businesses, certainly long-time established businesses have had a challenge with unfunded retirement health benefits for employees. It's a huge problem within government. Well, we have been willing and have in the last year addressed this challenge and have made some changes within our retirement benefits program to enable us to fully fund our benefits. And it's hard without going through a lot of financial numbers to really say how significant that is, but it's a really big deal. And the city's willingness to address really the tough things, the politically difficult things is really been a key part of driving the success for the city. And then the other thing I guess I got to give you guys a lot of credit for too is the growth in the property taxes within the city. The retail and commercial developments within the city have been very significant and have really led the growth in revenue for the city. And because of that, we're able to provide a number of outstanding services such as our police and fire and parks and all the things that we enjoy here in the city, and actually we'll be talking about a little bit more as we move forward. The next point here on the slide is that, and for me it's really nice because I always like external validation of some of the things that we think. If you take, for example, I'm up here saying that we're in solid financial position. It's nice to be able to also report that Standard & Poor's recognize that same financial strength by improving our bond rating to an A+ rating within the city. And so that feels good, and that's a nice accomplishment for the city. And then I've already kind of alluded to the state's financial issues, but really my point here is that as a city, we continue to keep a watchful eye on the state because I'll just say it within this group, and maybe we'll get back through a few of these staff members that are attending. The state has somewhat of a bad habit of reaching into cities and helping to use our revenue in order to solve their problems. And so we need to keep an eye on that to make sure that some of these things don't jump out and get us as well. Okay, now moving quickly on to our first department, which is our police or public safety area. The key thing that I want to highlight here, and which I think is a really great thing to be able to report, is that we've had 2 successive years of Part 1 crime reduction within the city. And Part 1 crime is really the rough crime, the most egregious crime that's reported, the homicides, the assaults, the burglaries, auto theft, things of this nature. And we've been able to reduce that in two consecutive years, despite the growth within the city. And I think that's a fine accomplishment for the city. And in fact, during the last year, we've had a first year of our special enforcement officers. That's the CNET group. These are the officers that actually do surveillance. They're going after narcotics problems and things, more significant issues within the city as it relates to crime. And they've had over 160 arrests in the last year. Over 80 of those have been felony arrests. And they are really doing a lot to get to the core of the problems and try to remove these issues from our city. The third bullet here really refers to communication capability improvements. Some of these I think are very interesting. First is, I don't know if you knew this, but last year if you called on your cell phone for an emergency that was at your house or somewhere in town, you would be routed directly to the California Highway Patrol. And then they would figure out that you're from Folsom eventually, and then transfer it to our dispatch organization, and then you lost a minute. And a minute's a big deal if there's a heart attack or things of this nature where you really need a response. And so our police department has really been proactive about looking at things that can improve response time, even the things that don't really, that are earlier up in the stage of delivering that type of service. And so this is a nice thing that they've actually started to implement. They've got it done with Verizon and Sprint and are in the process of scheduling this for AT&T to have this work done. The last sub-bullet here is really around our reverse 911 capabilities. The city, as part of our development of our emergency response capabilities, have really worked on our ability to communicate out to the residents and to the businesses of things that are happening. And so we have the ability now to target an area or the whole city and push out phone calls to landlines, to your normal phones, that basically says, there's this chemical spill over here, stay away from this area, or whatever the issue is. But we've also made it possible for us to register online on our city website our cell phones or our voice over IP lines, so that if you're very interested in getting these sort of notifications, and again, these are serious emergencies within the city, that they can come directly to your communication device of choice. And then the last major sub-bullet that I wanted to highlight is around our CAPS program. And this is citizens assisting public safety. So these are people like you and I that sign up and get trained to help out with our public safety officers. And a good example of that is during these recent windstorms when there was power outages, there's trees falling down causing traffic problems. We can have our volunteers go and direct traffic and do things that otherwise would tie up our sworn professionals and frees them up to go and do more significant and things that they're trained to do or only they are authorized to do, which is a nice development. And even with things going very well, I would say within our police department and our progress towards reducing crime, during our last council meeting on Tuesday evening, we received a service delivery plan update, which is really more ideas, really requests for more resources to continue to stay on top of safety and police work within the city. So we really appreciate, as a city council, we really appreciate the work that they've done and they continue to do in order to drive and deliver a safe community for all of us. On to our fire department. Chief Haverty was already introduced earlier, but I just wanted to highlight that during this year, Chief Eric Dutton, after 31 years of service to the city of Folsom, retired. And he performed a great service to the city. And we were very, very fortunate as we went through the recruiting process and found really an outstanding person with just an excellent reputation within the region to come join us in Chief Haverty. So thank you, Chief, for joining us here in the city. Well, the chief, as he came here and took over the reins, he found very quickly that there were a lot of things going on. And as you can see in our city, we have a lot of calls. 5,800 growing at almost 6% year over year in calls. And if you divide that by the number of days, that's a lot of calls on our fire department per day. And the majority of those are medical related. Those heart attacks and things like that I was talking about. Not all heart attacks though. The other thing we celebrated this year is our 150th anniversary as a fire department. And this really, for me, helps to highlight the way the city has developed. 150 years ago, we had a volunteer fire department. You've seen us use some of the fire trucks in the parades. They're not exactly the same as the ones that we're using today. And so it's just great to see that we have a fully trained, resourced fire department, real true professionals that can take care of the problems that face the city and help to protect human life. The mutual aid system is actually a state program that I love. This is a program where if there's a city that's overwhelmed or a location that's overwhelmed by their fire resources are overwhelmed, that the fire departments in the state actually send teams in to go help them out. It's a great program. And our fire department was called out, I believe, approximately 10 times this year. And the picture in the bottom right here is one of our fire teams that are in Southern California. And I had the opportunity to speak to a couple of them after they returned, and it was really nice to see the personal pride that they had of being able to go there and say, hey, I know for a fact that we saved some homes and made a difference in these fires. And it was nice to see that sort of pride in their work and the professionalism in what they do, and actually the assistance that we provided to other areas in California. And then just the last thing I would highlight in the fire department is that we continue to work on delivering high quality response times. And one of the things that we've identified to do that is to, in fact, build another fire station in the east area in Empire Ranch. And I'll show you a quick map. And I really apologize for all of you over here. You know, I don't know how much I can help with that, but I think we'll put the slides on the website if you really feel like you missed out. But here it is on the east side. Everyone, I think, knows where Empire Ranch is. What's going to be nice about that is you will have, if you look at response times, you know, it's fairly obvious mathematics, right? Distance to response and actually having the resources, the number of resources to be able to attend to everything. And so this will give us a nice east area resource plus some capabilities for grass fires. You know, we sometimes get grass fires up the hills on El Dorado Hills, and I think the plan is to have, you know, a grass rig there and things of this nature in order to be able to help to protect and deliver higher quality of service to the city. Okay, moving on to our public works area. I think everyone is fairly familiar with the bridge that's being built, right? I just really think that this is an incredible thing to witness. You know, I was here on the city council with Steve, and we remember when we got a call and they said, hey, we're closing the road over the dam tomorrow. And we just said, oh, no, you're not. And so we got a week. You know, so that was how well we did those negotiations. But it became permanent, and then it went from an idea is, okay, how do you resolve this to actually starting to design, looking at some very, very complicated financial inputs in order to pull this off. If you look at the chart that shows, okay, we need $125 million. Then it goes local, state, federal, and then it splits out from there. Federal, there's this group, this. It is just incredibly complicated to pull together a project of this nature to include and have it run by 3 government agencies: the City of Folsom, you know, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Bureau. Right? Who would have thought that this would be possible? And I think even there was an elected official in that referred to this as a miracle. So this is a very significant deal. And one other thing I was going to highlight is I actually had the opportunity to go on a tour, and I climbed to the top of this column. They have, you know, kind of stairways that go up the side, and I brought a souvenir back that I wanted to show you. Can you see this? Does it look heavy? It's got to be at least 30 pounds, and this is the corner of the rebar. If you see that nest of rebar there, this is just, you know, 1.5 foot segment of rebar, and this whole thing is interlaced with this sort of rebar. They say it's the biggest stuff in the world, and I believe it. And now I haven't decided whether to use it as a paperweight, you know, or as a barbell. But it was a fun tour, and it was great to see. The other thing I wanted to highlight here is we're going to actually kick off a very fun process of including the public and naming the bridge. You know, we have a number of bridges in the city, all of which we're very proud of. And in the city council meeting in February 26th, we're going to kind of announce the details of that program. And that's something for us to look forward to. And we're excited to have everyone's participation come up with a really great name for this bridge. The last thing I wanted to highlight in Public Works is around the management, the pavement management plan. This is really nice. I mean, you'll understand this too. I mean, when there's a lot of infrastructure, what they did is they've set up this really nice computer software that kind of tracks all of the roads within the city, prioritizes them, and creates schedules of how we can maintain the roads to get the best value out of our roads and reduce the expenses. So I think last year A lot of people, I actually got a number of calls with people just saying thank you for resurfacing the roads, and we did somewhere in the neighborhood of 61 lane miles of resurfacing / slurry seal. I won't get into the difference between the two, but 61 lane miles of work is significant and is very much appreciated. And this year we have somewhere in the 40 to 60 lane miles more to go this year that we're going to be doing, and this will be ongoing program to keep our roads nice so we're not complaining about potholes, just traffic, right? Okay, so on to utilities. This is actually, the picture on the top right is actually a picture that I took while I was taking that tour of the new bridge project. And one of the things that startled me was how much dirt I could see that close to the dam, right? This is our drinking water, and when it's gone, we're in trouble. And this last year we were in a stage 2 drought. I'm happy to report that we've had a lot of rain. That's not news to you. And Andy Moran, who a former mayor and city council member who's very involved with water within the region, told me we're about 90% of normal. So I think things are improving at least for this coming year. But as part of that, our city staff is being very aggressive about looking for additional water supplies because we get cut back in the amount of water that the city gets in the event of a drought, and having additional supplies to protect the residents and the businesses here, that they have adequate water, is something that's a high priority for us. The next two are really programs that the city's been recognized for, and the first is kind of a unique program. It's just it's something that we've been recognized by the state for having a construction and demolition recycling program. And basically what this is whenever we construct a new building, or you guys do, or someone builds a new building or demolishes a building, we don't just take all of the waste and run it to the landfill. There's actually a recycling process that is done to eliminate the amount of waste that goes to the landfill, and we've been recognized as a city for our accomplishments in the utility department for this. And then the last bullet item here is we've been recognized by the state's California Environment Association for Outstanding Collection Facility Award. And what's nice about that, and I should say outstanding collection facility, that's just really a polite way of saying sewer system. And what I am personally happy about this particular recognition is because when I was running for the city council about 7 years ago, about every time I would look in the newspaper where they mentioned Folsom, they would also mention our sewer system, and not necessarily in a positive way. And this was something that we, as a city council and a city staff, really focused on, provided resources for it, and got after it, and went from what I would say is a problem to role model. Not to say that everything's perfect, but it's certainly nice to get this sort of recognition. So on to our Parks and Rec department. The list of things that the Park and Rec department has accomplished over the last year or years is would be very time consuming to go through. And I think a lot of these are very visible and recognized by the community. But in the last year, we opened our Veterans Memorial, and we were able to celebrate both our Veterans and Memorial Day celebrations there. We have a new senior and art center. You can see in the bottom right, we've got our seniors doing aerobics in the senior center. Livermore Park, we finished the first phase. We changed the football field to a turf field, and we have a lot of more phases going on there. That is going to be one very nice park when it's done, and it's under construction now, and it's our fully funded and moving forward park. Folsom Sports Complex, I think most of you are aware of this. What's nice about this for me is I was nervous when we bought it that it would be a draw of cash, but I'm very pleased to say that it's operating in a cash flow positive manner. And the city staff has done an outstanding job of managing the sports complex. I think everyone in here recognizes the great trails. We continue to connect trails and build bridges and expand this. It's just absolutely an outstanding amenity of the city. The zoo continues to upgrade and refurbish things within the zoo, and have been doing a very good job increasing the number of attendees at the zoo. And this next year, we're hoping to be able to show you deliver a new dog park, an unleashed dog park for the residents, and also a fishing pond, which is one of my personal favorites over by the Will Hills Spring Reservoir. I've always had this picture of taking my boys to a fishing pond over by the high school and catching a few bass and only taking 15 minutes to get there. Okay, so that's Parks and Rec. Now I wanted to just quickly highlight libraries. I think most of you have probably at least seen the library, if not been in there, but this is a 24,000 square foot beautiful library named after Georgia Murray, a real great lady in the city and a real advocate for Folsom Library. And what I think is great about this is in the first year that it's been open, we've already surpassed everyone in the region in the amount of circulation that is done in that library. And I am always personally impressed at how much it's being used when I go there, even the computers. Because I remember, again, another decision we had, they were recommending a lot of computers, and people were saying, everyone in Folsom has computers, there's way too many computers, and I was starting to side with them a little bit. But now that I'm in here, or in the library, and see not only are all the computers full, but there's people waiting for them. And this is just a well-utilized library, a great amenity to the city, and a great place to study and to help our youth get educated. And another thing that we're doing together with the school district is a joint use library at the Vista del Lago High School that I'll talk about in a second. But over there in the Empire Ranch area, we're doing a joint use library where we're providing some resources to make it just a little bit better than it would have otherwise been. Information technology. Information technology in the city is something that many times can get overlooked, but there's a number of things that they're doing to drive value within the city as well. They've started this online economic development resource, which I like, because I get, it's like all of the council members and probably a lot of our staff, we get questions all the time. What is this project going over here by my house or down this street and things of this nature? And now they can go to a website and drill into a certain area, and you'll see a little tag next to all the projects that are going on in the city. You can click on it, and you can get some basic details of what the project is. There's also the ability now to pay your utility bills online, and we have this customer service resource where you can enter issues that you have with the city, where they're routed to the correct departments, and actually a tracking function, so it doesn't feel like this big, huge black hole where you enter your complaint and it goes nowhere, right? So anyhow, these are nice accomplishments also from our IT department, which are significant. We really appreciate as well. Going on to education. Now I feel like I should turn this over to our educators that are here. We got the superintendent of the school district and representatives also from our community college. It was really nice as I was starting to work on preparing this to look at the accomplishments of the school district, right? We all know that the quality of education in our city is a big deal, people wanting to live here. And look at these accomplishments. So first, the Folsom High School, the current high school, is recognized as one of the top 3% high schools in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. Isn't that great? I mean, I feel like it's around the clock. That's a really outstanding recognition. And then I highlighted here that there was two teachers at the schools that have been recently recognized. The first is a calculus teacher, which was actually recognized as the National Educator of the Year. That's a national recognition. That's a big deal. And then also a music instructor that has been recognized in the Sacramento area for the great music education he does. But I think a lot of us have heard about the music. We seem to perpetually win a lot of the jazz festivals and band and all that sort of stuff, something we're really proud of. And I've had a chance to interact with a lot of the youth involved in the music programs. They just absolutely love him and love the program. The two other highlights I wanted to point out here as far as the new schools being open is the Vista del Lago High School. And if you look at the top right picture, it's kind of scrolling through some of the pictures at the new high school. But this building is designed to handle somewhere between 1,500 and 1,800 students, and it is just incredible. If you haven't gone on a tour, you should. The facilities there remind me of a college a little bit. I mean, the science centers, the rec facilities are absolutely phenomenal. They have a football field, tennis courts, pool. I mean, this is a quality location, a place where the students will really be proud to attend. We also completed the school district completed the development of the Russell Branch Elementary School, and this elementary school was developed for 613 students, and they already have, I said 600, yeah, 613 students, and it already has 600 students in it. So it shows you the need that we've had to develop these facilities where we can build an elementary school, and they planned for it, right? They knew that they needed it, but boom, immediately filled, and another great elementary school. And then the third bullet I have here is on the elementary school. Empire Ranch Elementary School got the Blue Ribbon School. Let's clap for them too. This is again another national recognition, and well, there's two things I like about it. One is that they joined the Notomo Station Elementary and the middle school as Blue Ribbon schools, which is really nice because these are again nationally recognized things. And the second thing I like about it is this is the flag raising ceremony here in the middle picture, and it's my son that's actually in the middle there. So I like that too. He's in the student government there in that elementary school. And then I'd move on just real quickly to the Folsom Lake College. And those two things that I was going to highlight here, and maybe I can make sure Thelma keeps me on the straight and narrow on this one, but enrollment has been rising significantly. Last year versus this year, a 22% increase in enrollment. They're doing significant facility improvements. They're building everything from recreational facilities to the picture I have here in the bottom right of the Visual and Performing Arts Center, which we contributed to and very much look forward to having available to us. And I believe, if I've got it right, summer 2010 is when that will be available. But this will be a nice amenity. It's not only for the college students, but we participate as a community in things of this nature. And I have to say, while I haven't had a lot to do with it, or I've had very little to do with any of the accomplishments in this education, thank you to the school board, thank you to the superintendent, and for all the people involved. These are outstanding accomplishments and really driving value in the city. Okay, transitioning to the city's Folsom sphere of influence, just to give you a quick update on it. So I think most of you have seen maybe in the newspapers that the landowners have submitted their land use plan, which we've submitted for environmental review. And that environmental review and actually the associated annexation process will probably take us well into 2010, and the development will come sometime after that, right? I'm being purposely vague on when the construction will come after that because we don't know at this point. There's a lot of things that need to happen, but sometime after 2010, just to give you an indication. And the final point that I wanted to make here is really that the landowners have made significant progress on what we are calling Measure W requirements. We put forward an initiative to kind of make sure that the development over there, at least the impacts would be mitigated. And they've done things like come up with their own water supply is one of the things that they're working on, have adequate open space and other things like this in order to be able to move this development forward. And they've made fairly significant progress on that. Moving on to redevelopment projects, and this is actually one of my favorite areas, is the redevelopment work that we're doing very near here, right? First is our progress on the railroad block development, what is now being called the historic Folsom Station. And probably this group is as aware of this as anyone else, but you can see the picture on the top right is of the new parking structure. This will actually be available in March. And I'm always very happy in my involvement in government to see something that actually starts and finishes. These large projects just take so much work, so much energy getting people together, where we're arguing about the very last detail on these things, and then finally get it done and get it to fruition is really a big deal. And this will be the first cornerstone to the larger development that's happening on the railroad block. And I didn't put any of the renderings in this, but if you get an opportunity to see the renderings of this, and some of them are posted next to the site, it is absolutely going to be a beautiful place, a real jewel. All of us will want to go there for lunch, and we'll want to bring friends there that come from out of town to show off this great jewel within the city. It is going to be a great amenity. But in addition to just that railroad block area, we're doing a lot in the redevelopment. And some of those things include the broader Sutter Street area with the streetscape plan. We're working on facade improvements and a number of other things in the redevelopment area that are really quite significant, and I'm personally very excited about. Okay, my last area, just in case I was starting to wear you down. Yeah, I told Rich that I would be done at 5 till, so I can bring it in. Okay, so, and one of the things that's going to be nice about being able to truncate this last part is to be able to say the Patio Mall. I understand that Mr. Elliott is coming to your next meeting to present on the Patio Mall, so I won't steal any of his thunder, other than to say this is a big place. 93,000 square feet of retail, includes a 12-screen theater and a lot of great retailers that I'll let him tell you about. that this is scheduled to open in spring of 2009. And I think that is one of the things that I should really highlight too. While maybe the housing starts and the housing construction has significantly decreased in Folsom, or I guess in the nation, in this region certainly, the retail and commercial development in the city has really taken over as far as keeping our city staff busy. In addition to the mall, we have, everyone's seen the emergency room expansion over at the Mercy Hospital, 3 hotels, Circuit City, In-N-Out Burger, and so much more. And there's just a lot going on in the area of commercial development within the city. And the thing that I think is really interesting about this is really the impact. I remember in the financial area, I talked about how property taxes added a lot of value to the city and enabled us to use those resources to do things like hire police and firemen and build fire stations and do those things that keep the community great. Well, this is the projects that are actually in place or that are under construction or in the planning department right now will generate somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.5 million in revenue per year for the city in two years from now. And that's significant. So I really appreciate all this. And the last bullet, which could have been the first bullet, is really process improvement. A couple of years ago, maybe not that long ago, we would get some feedback that wasn't always positive on the process that people would go through to take projects forward. Well, there's been a lot of process improvement and a lot of positive feedback that we've received from developers on this. And then, so the 2 things that I would highlight is, one is that we've, through our new community development director, have been able to initiate this project management process where we really engage with the developers in a timeline. So when we have schedules, right, and our schedule is their schedule, and if we slip, they slip, and we recognize that it's teamwork, and we can't just kind of get to it when we get to it, that we join them in a partnership to help keep them as efficient as possible and help them to be successful. And then the second thing, which is an express plan check, the 72-hour turnaround for tenant improvements. And that was probably, if you change offices or things of this nature, this is something that used to be a source of complaint, and now I hope it's a source of significant, appreciation. Okay, actually, the last slide, well, actually the next lesson was the conclusion, that the economic development in the area is very significant to us, and I started by telling you how significant all of you are to us and to the city. It really is a big deal. We love the jobs you bring. We love the service that you bring to the community. It's really outstanding. Here's a list of a number of new businesses that have recently joined the city. And so we're very excited that we have a nice flow of new businesses in the city. And you can see a number of these are technology startups that are starting to spring up in the city, which I'm excited about because that's a future job potential list for me of some of these guys, because I tend to work for some of these technology companies. Okay, so in conclusion, we've come a long way here in the city of Folsom, certainly in the last 150 years, since the 1850s, when Mr. Folsom was around. But I wanted to, actually point out, and something that you've probably already seen, but for 2 successive years, the city of Folsom has been recognized as one of the 25 best affordable cities in the United States. One of 2 in California. So only 2 of us in California, and we're listed as one of the best in the nation. And I wanted to close by reading a quote in that Business Week article, which I think is really significant and really sums up the state of the city. And referring to those 25 cities, it states, "These cities offer the winning combination of affordability, academics, safety, and culture that many families dream about but can rarely find." I just love that quote. It's exactly what the city is. Well, it's clear to me that 2008 will be another busy and exciting year. I'm proud to be a resident of the city of Folsom and to play a role in guiding its future. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much for the value that you add to the city of Folsom. Thank you.
That was the 2008 State of the City report by Eric King, the Mayor of Folsom, given to members of the Folsom Chamber of Commerce at the Leighton Term Inn. Brought to you by FolsomLocalNews.com, promoting local business and clubs.